Hello, I'm working on a Dell Inspiron N5010 laptop. The problem with this, it was giving 6 beeps and there was no video on the screen. So I had to determine what that was. And what was determined was the video chip needs to be reflowed, as well as maybe putting thermal paste. Okay, so the original Dell, I found out, is an AMD processor with its components. Okay, an AMD processor, phenom. And then, of course, it has its respective video chips here. The motherboard that I substituted was actually a Dell N5010. But what I started to see was there was this chip Intel on the top of the board. When I flip it over, it is an Intel chip. There is no video in this area. So that's the difference between the boards. That's why when I first looked at this, I didn't know. I looked like two different revisions, but this is the Intel motherboard and the Intel chip, and mine is the AMD. So what I did is I flipped this over quickly to show you this is where the processor is. And then I removed the fan, which has three screws over the processor, and then one screw on the board. So basically, when this lines up, we have this device where the screw goes here and the three screws go there. Okay, so I just wanted to show you why this board, when I initially looked at it, was different. Okay, while you're at it, if you remove this to do the reflow, you might as well clean the fan. Okay, make sure to remove the connector. And what was told to me is the video on the Intel is located here, so you would have to put maybe some flux, clean it up, and use some rubbing alcohol to clean that up. Also take out the thermal paste that might have been old and crusty on top of the chip. This is a thermal paste. It's used in the heating type of departments. I believe this is for a thermal coupler that goes inside of a furnace. This is what I had. It's like silvery. It is to allow heat to not be overly heated on a metallic part. So I'm using this as a substitute for a heat sink type paste. So basically that's what I used. I'm just testing this out with some rubbing alcohol to remove the old thermal paste. And then I use some flux. I do not have an air gun for heating. So I used the high level hair dryer at its maximum wattage. I think 1500 watts. And I left it for 30 seconds until 2 minutes on one of the video chips, and then I went to a different technique where I went 5 minutes on another one. So on the AMD, you have a chip that's located here, and then you have a chip that's located here. Okay, that's not on the same. Okay, and then you have your AMD processor. Okay, that's basically it. So that's where the reflow was done on that video chip, or this video chip or IC circuit. Nothing there. And then the thermal paste was placed on top of the IC circuit and then used something to spread. So when you're ready to put this back, you're going to basically install the motherboard in this position. Okay, I'm going to save time by not actually showing you all the screws. I'm going to show you where things gotta get connected. Okay, so you will connect this, located for your video output. That's what you're connecting. Then you're going to connect your monitor here. Then you're going to install the 2 screws here, and you're going to press downward, which I'm going to do now. Okay. Then you're going to go over here and you're going to connect the speaker. You're going to connect the card reader here. If you happen to remove your WLAN Wi-Fi card, then you must make sure you got negative and you got positive for the colors, okay? What I did initially was I used the Intel board. I placed it in here with my good hard drive, my good CD-ROM, and a good screen. And my Windows 7 was configured with the AMD, so it kept getting a blue screen, okay? Once you have that, you can put the hard drive in its proper position. That's one technique there. I'm going to show you briefly. Then you put the bezel. Make sure you put the bezel on. You pop it in along the sides. You're going to put these connectors. Make sure you always lift the plastic piece up. Use the tab to insert it correctly. Make sure that's there. Okay. Then you're also going to make sure this one gets connected. Okay. Now, then you're going to install the screws, which they have numbers identifying your M 2.5 times 5. That's the specification. There's 2 there. There is 1 here. And you continue on, and then you have 2 here. So to save time, I'm not going to show you them because I do not have the technology to fast forward. Okay. Then you're going to take your keyboard, and it has a ribbon as well. Be very careful as you position the ribbon in its right position. Once that's there, you're going to place your keyboard in here, and you're going to gently make sure that it's underneath these tabs, underneath, and you push forward. Once that's done, then you can work on the back side. And the back side requires you to go ahead and install your CD-ROM, DVD into its bay, and then it has an appropriate screw that keeps it in place, okay? Then you have several screws in here that you will go ahead and make sure you place inside. There's going to be 2 inside of here, okay? After you do that, then you want to continue slowly around the body of the computer. There are 3 screws here, possibly 4 if I counted correctly. And then there are 3 screws there. And then right in the front, there is, of course, 4, 5, probably 5 screws in this section. And then you have another screw over here. And then way in the front, you're going to have 4 screws along where the speakers are. Now, they are rubber pieces on here, which this model didn't have. But remember, that's where you start off with the rubber pieces. And I believe after this, then you can install your battery. Then your memory, of course, you didn't have to take out. And then you can install your cover. And then you can test if this system will work on the Inspiron N5010. So there is 2 models. There's the AMD model, and there's the Intel i3 model. So that's why I wanted to show you this quickly, so that this way we have an understanding why I had to go back to the original AMD. And my model is using, of course, AMD graphics cards and AMD processor. All right, so that's the difference. And actually, if you go on services like eBay or Amazon to look for parts, internal parts That's the difference. External parts, they're not. So you cannot change a processor from an AMD and try to put it in an Intel motherboard. That doesn't work. That doesn't work anymore since the good old days of 386s and 486s. Nowadays, everybody has to use an Intel motherboard. So this is an AMD motherboard, and it has its components. And the one that I pulled out was an Intel motherboard, Intel chipset, and that would explain why when I loaded up the original hard drive, it failed on me. Okay, hopefully this can help somebody else who's still using a laptop that's pretty much manufactured in 2010. And yes, I still use a 24-year-old laptop to this day. Hopefully this works out for people who have this. Bye-bye.